Good morning, friends and family of the internet. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. Hello, everybody. My name is Samantha Starkey, and you may know me or you may not. I live in a rural community of South Louisiana, and just 7 days ago, we had a massive hydrocarbon explosion at a local plant. We are now fighting for our community. We're fighting for our environment, and we're fighting for generations to come. Let me give you a little history. The plant that blew up was called Smitty's. Now, Smitty's has employed hundreds of our community and family members for about 50 years now. But they're not this innocent giant of a corporation. They are a multi-million-dollar hydrocarbon conglomerate. You know what I'm saying? They got plants in several states. Here's the problem that we're having. As of Friday morning, they fired every employee without severance, no severance at all. They basically said, hey, the plant blew up. You no longer have a job. Several employees lost their vehicles in the parking lot of the explosion. None of that's been mentioned. The community members of my community have not been given the list of chemicals that burned in that fire. But from doing my own research, I have been able to narrow it down to about 600 different chemicals, including antifreeze. Now, this video is going to be different than anything I've ever done. I'm fixing to show you how this explosion is going to affect the agricultural sector of my rural community and how this could happen in your community. So if you've never been here before, please hit the like button. Tell me where you are, where you're watching from. Subscribe. We are growing very quickly. And if you've never seen me, I just recently published a book, Growing Under a Poisoned Sky. You can literally get this book on eBay, Walmart, Walden Books, Kindle, and Amazon. I am auctioning off 3 of these with my signature in it to anybody that would like a signed copy, because my husband has a brain aneurysm and he's going to be missing a lot of work coming up as we deal with what is going on inside of his head. So I'm trying to be a Proverbs wife. If you'd like to support our channel, YouTube does not pay me. Let me repeat that. YouTube doesn't pay Samantha because of my mouth. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like when we're lied to. I'm an educated woman. I want everything to be better than it is. And I think it's ridiculous that they lie to us constantly. So I pushed back against that. And YouTube said that my content was harmful. So I want you to read the headline on this. Farmers fear lasting damage after Rosalynn explosion. This is my community right now. Hold on, guys. Sorry, it's got to load up. I guess I'll probably try to prep it before. What's happening basically is the toxins got picked up by a thunderstorm and moved over a 50-mile radius from the explosion north and northeast and northwest, from what I'm hearing. The concern is that it's now in the water and all over the pastures that these animals have to drink from. So this article was written August 25th, 2025. A TANGIPAHOA parish couple says their farm is struggling to recover after oily fallout from last week's explosion at Smitty's Supply in Rosalynn. Lisa and Robert Friedley live about 3 miles from the oil company on a 71-acre farm. They raise cattle, sell hay, and stock ponds with fish. They say all of it is now at risk. That's true. It's not a lie. Everything's at risk.
Live from Louisiana's news channel, 9 News at 10 starts now.
Some more fallout from that explosion at the Smitty supply plant there in Rosalynn. The governor today tried to reassure families that they are safe, but even farmers just a few miles away say they have good reason to be worried.
One couple talked to our Perry Robinson. They showed him how an oily substance is already causing devastating problems on their property. Perry.
Hey guys, fear is the best way to describe how this couple is feeling after last week's explosion as they try to figure out their next move.
How bad is it going to get?
That's the question farmers Lisa and Robert Freely are asking, days after the explosion at Smitty Supply in Rosalynn.
Come on, Freckles! Peaches!
The couple lives about 3 miles away on a 71-acre farm where they raise cattle, sell hay, and stock their ponds with fish. But their livelihood may now be at risk after an oily substance started raining from the sky just hours after the blast last Friday. Lisa says hundreds of fish they spent years raising, from bass to catfish, all died. And their hay, a major source of income, is ruined.
Was shot. It's gone for this year.
Their biggest concern now is the livestock. More than 25 cows, bulls, horses, and donkeys. The cattle are unable to drink any of the water from their ponds. And as you can see, some are still covered in black oil. Lisa fears what this could mean for the farm if they don't survive.
That will devastate us.
She says they have reached out to multiple state agencies for help, but have gotten no answers. For now, the two are left trying to clean up on their own, unsure of what comes next.
I don't know. We have so many questions and no answers.
Well, state officials say they are still testing soil and water samples in the area. For now, the couple says all they can do is wait and hope for resources to arrive.
So I'd like to give them a little bit of hope. I spoke to a nonprofit yesterday because I'm trying to spearhead helping these people who have this land and these animals. And when they called me from New Orleans and they said, Samantha, what does your community need? I said, and we need water tanks. We need 600-gallon water tanks with fresh water and water troughs, and we need hay. And if we can, we need land. We need to move these livestock off this toxic land. Now, this was an organization that was created after Katrina to help with just this, but I've not seen them. I am going to reach out today, but this is for anybody in my community watching this, or any of you. If you don't have an LSART in your community, maybe it's time to start writing grants and get one. This is what they're supposed to do: make resources available to parishes with the accounting for you for emergency planning, response, and recovery, assist local jurisdictions in planning and preparing for all types of emergencies involving animals. This is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to respond to emergencies by assisting with evacuation, sheltering, search, and rescue. So anybody in my community watching this, look them up, Louisiana State Animal Response Team, call them, tell them you need them. That's what they get money for. This right here, friends and family, I cannot explain this to you enough. What will happen if the EPA deems there are now PFAS or PFOS in the soil and in the water of our agricultural community? They will euthanize your animals. They will condemn your land, but you can start cleaning it right now. Get our book, guys. I know somebody said, are you doing all this just to promote your book? But no, I find it very beautiful. The Lord had me write a book about toxic chemicals in the air, soil, and water. And then as soon as it comes out, this happens in my community. That can only be God, folks, because the Holy Spirit knows what's coming and he will always prepare us if we'll listen.
Has reached various wells in the Clovis area, but Mr. Scott at Highland area is kind of maybe the biggest impact.
Sure. And
we visited him back in 2021 last spring to talk to him and saw his, thousands of cows at his dairy that he was unable to sell the milk from anymore, but had kept these thousands of cows alive. What's now become of those cows?
Yeah, so those 3,600 cows over time, some of them simply just died of old age, and he wasn't able to sell his milk, but he still had to maintain those cows. To see if the PFAS levels would naturally decline is what I understand he was keeping them alive for. As of today, all 3,600 cows have now been euthanized. So those cows are no longer living, and the cows today are being composted on site at his farm, and we're working with him to make sure that those hazardous carcasses are properly managed so that PFAS doesn't continue to move through the environment, but we actually take it out of the environment.
So let's talk about that a little bit, about cows being, and cow carcasses now being hazardous waste. How does that change how and where these bodies can be buried or disposed of? I mean, it's a difficult conversation to have, but I'd like to understand kind of the
Yeah, no,
logistics of
I
that.
think it is a really difficult conversation. And, as somebody who's been in the environmental business as a regulator for 25 plus years, working on hazardous waste issues, I've never encountered a scenario like this before, where a cow has become a hazardous waste. It's one, not something I'd ever want to deal with, and two, not something I've ever had to deal with. And many
God, they're boring. I'm trying to fast forward.
clean up the soil and any remaining materials. And there's going to be, we're seeking information on what the proper disposal would be, long-term disposal. But it's likely going to be something like scooping everything up, taking it to a hazardous waste landfill, or taking all that soil and organic matter that's remaining to a hazardous waste incinerator, and disposing of it to break down that really hard chemical of PFAS into something that is no longer PFAS. That's what the incinerator would do. So there's a few methods on the horizon.
Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. So PFAS are nickname on the street, forever chemicals, for a reason. A little bit of research, and I'm not an expert, but I know more than the average person because that's what I wrote my book on. Let me tell you something. You can put certain bioremediating plants in your fields to absorb from the soil PFAS. And then you pull all that plant material up and you convert it into biochar, which is what he's basically saying. They're going to turn the cattle remains in the soil where the cattle biodegraded. They're going to scoop all of that up because the PFAS are still going to be there and burn it. They're basically making biochar. Okay. So you can do that. This is so serious. When I was speaking to the nonprofit yesterday, I told them, come this fall, we need to be doing biochar classes across these parishes that have been affected by this hydrocarbon explosion to show people how easy it is to use PFAS, not use PFAS, to create biochar, right? Now, I want you guys to see this one. All right. There was an explosion, right, in Texas. After the explosion, then President Barack Obama issued an executive order. It told several departments to work on improving chemical safety. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, considered closing a loophole that allowed small retail sites like West Fertilizer Company, like Smitty's, to escape more federal oversight. The Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, began updating and expanding its own regulations for hazardous chemicals. While those regulatory agencies were looking ahead, the ATF was looking for answers. 3 years later, Jordan Barup got a call. He was the number 2 official at OSHA. I got a call from our regional administrator in Texas. Sit down, you won't believe this, but the ATF just held a press conference. At the press conference, an ATF agent declared, "We are here today to announce the final ruling as the cause of the fire. The fire has been ruled an incendiary. This means this fire was a criminal act." The announcement kicked off a slow-moving chain reaction. OSHA and other federal agencies have spent most of President Obama's second term working on updates to chemical safety policy. There was only a year and a half left to administration when ATF announced its findings. It says that OSHA's policy review on chemical safety, which was kicked off by the West explosion, he told Texas Public Radio that ATF refused to brief OSHA and the White House on the arson finding. To this day, aside from ATF continuing to reiterate their insistence that this was intentionally set, we've really got no information from the ATF on what they base this conclusion on. ATF declined T4's request for comment on whether the agency refused to brief the White House. The agency said it has proof the fire was started by arson, but declined to go into detail because ATF said the investigation is still going on. This arson finding went beyond a lack of interagency communication. All right. I'm going to tell you guys the truth. I got a phone call this morning from somebody in my community. She said, Samantha, did you hear? I said, my phone's ringing night and day. I said, did I hear what? She said, this was intentional. I said, well, I did see that the news interviewed a gentleman. That was the one that called 911 originally. And he also helped to single-handedly save hundreds of people. He was working in the mixing where they mix the chemicals. He looked over and the entire tank, the top of it was burning, and he knew, right? I have proof that Smitty's was dumping toxic chemicals not only into the TANGIPAHOA River, but into the ditches which lead to the TANGIPAHOA River years before this explosion. They did not even bother to call the employees. There's only 400 employees. Most have worked there for a very long time. They sent out a mass email. You get no severance pay. Nothing about what happens if it was your vehicle or your belongings that you had brought in to work with you that day. Right? So I want to show you guys. Oh no. It turned itself off. I had found something I wanted to share with y'all. Let me pull it back up on my page. I have several somethings I want to share with you guys. No, it says here, after an explosion, Smitty Supply in Rosalynn laid off almost all employees with no severance. All right, so let's recap. How do we know that we cannot trust the EPA? Okay, let me see. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to be slow. I'm trying to pull it up. There was one on here where it talked about don't eat your plants. Here it is. Listen to me. A lot of people have been calling me, Sam, should we, it's harvesting time for a lot of our late summer vegetables here in Louisiana. We have like an 11-month growing season. I'm not even joking. We do spring vegetables for a month and a half, and then we can grow 2 crops in the summer, and then we have our fall. Friends and family that live in this community or anybody that's ever affected by hydrocarbon explosion, please hear me now. Do not eat the vegetables that are in the ground or the fruits after an explosion. It says, a watchdog for air and water quality, excuse me, in neighboring Pennsylvania said the incineration plans are very worrying. The plan to incinerate dioxazine and PFAS contaminated soil from Norfolk Southern's toxic spill deeply troubles us and will continue to build distrust and anxiety. It is not clear the plan will work and puts communities downwind at risk of contamination. According to an update from the office of Ohio's Republican Governor Mike DeWine, the Ohio EPA has reported that approximately 1,700 tons of solid waste have been removed from the disaster site in East Palestine as of Friday. And then they tell you, where they sent all this. 3.2 million gallons of liquid wastewater have been collected in the area, with a larger amount going out of state to facilities in Michigan and Texas for deep well injection. In other words, they're going to shoot that contaminated crap straight into the heart of everything. It says local resident Eric Kaza told the news outlet he was scared of what the released waters could do to the community. Remember, as of right now, from Highway 51 and 16 in Amite City, the Tangipahoa River from there all the way to Lake Pontchartrain has been closed. Folks, Amite City has an oyster festival every year. Why? Because that's one of the seafoods that we eat. Our rivers are abundant in Louisiana. This is going to destroy entire economic strongholds for our communities. Okay. It says, I fear now that the chemical is in the ground. It's going to leach towards the water ducts, our aquifer for drinking water. I'm concerned that the park is now contaminated. Kids won't be able to play there or walk through there on their way to school. It also says, I'm trying to find it, that any residents who had food in the ground should not eat it. Should not eat anything that was growing at the time of the explosion. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to pull up for you guys real quick the pictures of this plant releasing. Let me find it. Maybe on my other page, releasing the green antifreeze, because that's one of the chemicals they did, they worked with, was antifreeze. This is the gentleman right here that said he saw how the explosion started, but I'm hearing that they did this on purpose because they needed to close this plant down because the EPA was coming down on them for basically not following rules. Hold on, guys. Get this through here. Let's see if it'll pull it up for y'all. Goes on to say, Jesse Hughes has worked around flammable products, blending oil at the facility in Rosalynn. And that's what he was doing when he saw flames at a mixing tank. It was 20 feet in the air, fire. He acted quickly, running inside the building and yelling for people to leave. We have to get out. We don't have time to be playing around. He says the fire originated near the center of the facility at a 10,000-gallon tank filled with oil. Nearby were other tanks holding brake fluid and other flammable substances. I'm just saying. It's really, here it is. It's really horrific. This is what Smitty's been doing in my community. You see that green? That's antifreeze. There's a school right there. There's a child development, a Head Start right down the road from there. They don't care. That's what Smitty's has been doing in my community. Now they closed the plant down, kicked everybody out, laid everybody off, no severance. They'll give you back your sick days. Don't worry, you get those. And what I'm really shocked about are these booms.
Exactly working. You see?
Look at that. The booms are leaking. One of you amazing people ordered me the respirator and everything. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Folks, please consider rowing in our boat. If you send even $1 and put your email in the memo, I'll make sure you get our monthly newsletter, and I'll invite you to do Zooms with me and other people on this channel. I need you guys' help. I really do. Stephen has his CAT scan scheduled for this Friday, which means we're going to get another week that is not a full paycheck. And we won't even see any sales from our book until sometime in December. So I'm desperately trying to stay above water while I am helping my community. I had to go put my car in the shop yesterday. My check engine light came on, ABS brake light came on, four-wheel drive brake, my parking light, like everything started going haywire. So my car's at the shop. I don't even have a vehicle right now that I can use. So I need you guys. I love y'all so much. If you're new here, get used to it. I'm snarky. Also, if you'd like a signed copy of our book, Growing Under a Poison Sky, signed and dated. Now, I can't write an inscription because I gave my word. There were 3 people that purchased books with inscriptions. I will not inscribe it, but I will sign it and send it to you. If you donate and say, hey, I want a signed autographed book from you, you donate more than 20 because that's what the book costs, then I'll get it, I'll reach back out to you and get it into the mail to you. Love you guys so much. Be blessed out there. Stay safe and don't think that this could not happen to you.